house in Lagos is very annoying and frustrating. But I think I didn't expect to feel that kind of way searching for a house in Toronto. So I was humbled when I started searching for a house, or when we started searching for a house, and it wasn't even coming together. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Grace. Here on The Nook, I provide you with a variety of content around product design, tech career, and life as an immigrant in Canada. So if this is the kind of content you're interested in, please do subscribe to my channel by hitting the bell icon right below, yeah, that one, and giving this video a thumbs up. This will help my channel grow and give me visibility. So if you watched my first video of the year, you'll probably remember I said, in short, I want to quote it, "Oh my god, house hunting in Canada is ghetto, I swear." Okay, let me rephrase. When I was house hunting in Canada, it felt like the ghetto. And you're wondering, what does she mean by that? Well, you're in luck, because in today's video, I'm going to be sharing my personal experience about house hunting. And I have my housemate here with me, and we'll be talking about house hunting as Canadian immigrants in Toronto. So let's get right into it.
What's up? Hi, my name is Oisamoje, Rita, or Zazu. I landed in Canada on the 18th of March last year, so I'm almost 1 year in Canada. Woohoo! Yeah, party! I'm not throwing any party for it. So, when I came to Canada, I was chilling, I was balling. It was like awesome. I was staying with my cousin. We were like having parties from day to day, like. Yeah, that's a lie. Okay, so yeah, got into Canada. I think I was a bit luckier than most people because I had my cousin to perch with, so we were managing ourselves in her in a beautiful one-bedroom apartment, but it was home. And in my mind, it was like, okay, like the Canadian dream, just coming to Canada, like within a month, get a job, then immediately I get a job, just like get a house, move in, then start my, single pringle fine girl life. But anyhow, things were not exactly as I imagined. So yeah.
Moving from Nigeria to Canada was one of the major events in my life in the year 2022. That's last year. And coming to Canada was really, it wasn't really exciting for me because I wasn't interested in moving, but everybody was moving, and I'm like, okay, sure, you will not be the only one left in Nigeria. So I started my application process when my sister did. Got to Canada, and I was fortunate enough to have a sister who lives in Canada, so I lived with her for a couple of months. So when I moved to Canada, I thought that I would come to Canada, stay with my sister for a couple of months. After staying with her, I would get a job, and then after getting a job, I probably would just take from the money, like the loads of money they will pay me at that job, and rent a house. But lo and behold, that's how they say the English. Lo and behold, 1 month had passed, 2 months had passed, 3 months had passed. I had not still gotten a job, and of course, frustration set in, because when you are using the money that you saved in naira and are spending in dollar, they pain. That's in the pain. It they choke. A different level of, bitterness will come out of you. Anyway, that was my situation. And luckily enough, as God we have it, to the glory of God and the shame of my enemy and my village people, I got a job. But it was a hybrid role, and I had to move to Toronto in order to get the job done.
How did my house search begin? So it actually started by chance. So one day I was just like, okay, in a couple of months I will need to leave this house. So let me even see how much houses are in this Toronto that I'm in. The first house I saw, 1 bedroom, my chest, my heart came out of my chest because I saw 2,500 and I almost died. I was like, okay, maybe I'm aiming too high. Let me aim a bit lower, maybe something basement like, or maybe not really a condo. I checked and I was seeing like 1.9. I was seeing 2.1. And as at that point, I was in a call center, And I was thinking that my salary cannot accommodate this kind of thing. So it was like, okay, so either I have to go into a basement. I didn't want to get depressed, so I didn't want to go to a basement. Or I would have to sort of look for a housemate and sort of share the cost, because that was a bit more economical versus just having a place to myself. So I was then on the lookout for who was going to rent with me. And at that point, it was like, okay, do I want somebody that's going to murder me in my sleep because I'm just going to pick them up from Kijiji or Facebook Marketplace? Or do I want some random person that I'm going to start fighting almost every day?
Looking for a house in Ottawa was nice because the rent wasn't as pricey as Toronto. But when I started looking for houses in Toronto, it didn't shock me. As in, nobody told me, but it didn't shock me because I just kind of realized that the money that I saved up wasn't going to be enough to rent a house if I was going to rent it alone. So I told my sister that, okay, I wanted to get a room in an apartment. I like my space, so I wanted to live with someone who would have like some sort of shared understanding. So I told my sister my concerns, and she was like, I actually have these classmates, because we went to the same secondary school, myself and my sister. She was like, don't you know Rita? I'm like, no, I don't. Oh, Rita is moved to Canada as well. She probably will be looking for a housemate. Let me call her up and ask her if she's interested.
So Omo and I were classmates in secondary school. So yay, the value of relationships. But anywho, Omo knew that I had moved to Canada, and she just calls me one evening like, oh, are you looking to rent with someone, or how is your house search going? And I literally gave her my whole tale of woe, how I was doing and how things were going, and she just goes, oh, my sis Grace is actually in Canada right now, and she's looking to rent in Toronto over the next couple of months, and she's also looking for a flatmate. And I was like, hallelujah, hallelujah, because it's like, at least it's not someone that's going to kill me in the middle of the night. So yes. So, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm game, I'm happy, please hook us up, create a group, create whatever, let's start looking for a house together. And that was how I got in touch with my newly adopted sister, Grace. We'll tell you the story later. So.
In terms of like my expectation, I sincerely thought that coming to Canada, it would be easy to look for a house. Quick question. If you were asked to describe your experience house hunting in Canada with three different words, what would they be?
God, stress, wahala, trouble, Ella.
Oh yeah, explain what those words mean for the non-Nigerian.
Okay, so Ella is like when they slap you up. How do I even explain Ella? Or when you're turned down, like back to back to back to back.
So when you're turned down, but in the harshest of ways, that's Ella.
And very quick too.
So yeah, that's Ella. So wahala, what's wahala?
Wahala is trouble, problem. Yeah, that's wahala.
Okay, awesome. For context, we came in 2022, and it was, I would say, early spring.
Yeah, early spring. March.
Early spring, so March. So, and the house market at that time was very competitive, especially for people who are renting. So renters, it was very competitive. So maybe your situation will be different when you come, but this is our experience. And people who we've spoken to who didn't even come in 2022, who came months before or years before, had a similar problem. So we'll be walking you through our gist and also giving you tips and tricks that will be useful for you. What are some of the things you considered while you were house hunting?
Okay, so for me, I was broke. So I needed a cheap house, but a fine one. Cheap. And basically just a house, but cheap.
So your major consideration was cost.
Yeah, cost.
Okay, for me, I think I was on a budget, right? But I also why are you looking at me like that? Like
I don't think she knows what budget means.
I was on a budget. So I was on a budget, but then I also wanted a place that was decent enough for me to live. So coming from back home, I lived by myself. I had like a 3-bedroom apartment, although I was working in, like, half of it was my workplace. But I had a 3-bedroom apartment, and so I wanted a space that would not just be cheap or no, not cheap. I wasn't looking at cheap. I was looking at affordable, but I wanted to be decent as well. And then I also wanted it to be around, like, accessible. So I think that's one other thing I was looking at. I wanted to be really accessible. So, and I looked at the neighborhood, like, okay, what neighborhood were we renting in? Because I've heard a lot of story about living in Toronto, and they'll say this person got mugged or someone was killed. I'm like, please, that shall not be my case in Jesus' name. But let me look for a place that had, like, it was pretty decent. So I think that's one thing that I looked out for. What else did you look out for?
Honestly, I was just looking at costs. I would say at that point, I think my priorities were just a bit too little. So thanks to Grace for actually putting me in line, because now I'm sort of like enjoying all the benefits of all this plenty stress that she put me through that time. Because for me, I just wanted house, affordable, and I was ready to take it. But Madam here wanted 99 walk score, 99 transit score.
No, 99 is like is a lot now.
Okay, but she wanted high walk score, high transit score. I mean, I'm there looking like, what the hell does walk score and transit score even mean? But
so yeah, for you guys that don't know, like, there's this, I don't know what's the name of that website. I think it's walkscore.com or something like that. So you can go on the website to see how accessible your house is. Do we have shopping complexes around? How easy is it to walk from your house to those complexes or those places that you typically be doing your day-to-day shopping or commuting to? How easy is it to get to your public transit? So, and then it's important because, for example, if you are working from the office, or you have like a hybrid situation, you want to look at, okay, what is the distance from your house to your office? So that's why I was looking at it, and you see, we got like a really good place in the end. But in short, the story is still unfolding. It's still unfolding.
And talking about budget, a good way to actually determine if what you're looking at is within your budget is if it is 30% of your take home. So not your gross, but your net, like after tax. So if it's more than 30%, it means it's going to be eating like a big chunk of what you're going to be taking home, and you should probably look at other options.
Yeah.
And I just remembered another thing. So another thing we looked at when we were trying to get an apartment was having everything all inclusive.
Yeah.
And as at that point, I did not understand what that meant, because she was the one that brought it off, like having water, hydro, and heat included in the rent. And right now, I tell you, that is a big blessing. Because in winter, I crank up the heat to 30 degrees with no worries. Yeah.
When you're talking about cost, is that the cost of the apartment is one thing, but then the utilities and the bills, are there additional bills? So some places you could rent for, say, 1.5, and then after that you need to pay hydro, what else? Water, heat. So hydro is what?
That's electricity.
So that was really confusing, because anytime I say hydro, I just think of water. So hydro is electricity. Hydro is electricity.
Then heat
is, and then there's water. So most houses will have heating. No, they'll have water and what?
They'll have water and heating, no hydro.
No hydro. So just make sure that if there's an additional cost, you're factoring that in, because you're going to be paying it on a monthly basis. So your house rent can be 1.5 plus heating, which changes every time because it depends on how much you use in the summer or in the winter. So if you're someone like her that likes like the place feeling really tropical, you want to make sure that it is included. Sometimes you can't avoid it, but yeah, if you can, try as much as possible to get an all-inclusive apartment. Okay, so guys, the next thing is when you're searching for a house, you want to do a bit of research about the kind of house you want to rent and also the neighborhood. So for example, she wanted a condo. She was like, I want a condo, I want a condo, I want a condo. Meanwhile, me, I'm like, anywhere is fine. As long as it has all these criteria, then it's good for me. But then I think something she mentioned that made sense was the fact that if you rent like a townhouse, you need, especially when it snows, you are liable for your walkway. So if anybody falls in front of your walkway, you are liable. So you have to clear the snow during the winter. And I'm just like, I didn't come from Nigeria to come and be clearing snow, I'll be shoveling snow. So that's something you want to consider. What are the amenities included in the apartment you're getting? She wanted gym. She's a, you can see her shape, very like her. Unlike me, I'm like, I don't care as long as it's all inclusive. It has a lot of natural light because I love natural light. And then I also wanted a decent space in terms of like size. And also we looked at the neighborhood. Do you remember that there was this apartment? You said the story. That apartment that we saw at Jane and Finch.
So we found a beautiful big three-bedroom apartment in Jane and Finch. Like it was, I think, 2001, and at that point I was already imagining like, okay, yeah, like we could get a third roommate, split the cost,
or even sublet to do like Airbnb,
like Airbnb, like 700 a month. Wow, wonderful! I was just going wow in my head, and I told it to my cousin, and she's like, is that area safe? And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure it's safe. It's Toronto. Everywhere is safe. And I go online and I'm reading through some of the news articles and I'm like, why going to this place?
Yeah, because there are a lot of incidents like violence and all that, like horror stories around Jane and Finch. So we then decided, this wasn't a good location to actually look into. So you want to look into the location. Make sure you're going to a safe neighborhood, especially now that I'm hearing like a lot of gist around. This person was mugged in the TTC, that happened in the TTC, this person was shot in the apartment building. So guys, please be really careful. Make sure you do a bit of research around the neighborhood you're renting in, or around the neighborhood you're renting in, so that you are safe.
Oh yes, and there was also one very funny apartment that yours truly brought for me. Or like,
where was the house?
666. Like I don't even remember the location. I just remembered her sending me a link, and I just saw the number 666, and the Nigerian in me was like, no. I didn't even open it. I didn't even look at it.
I can't even remember. No? That's the funny thing.
Oh no, I can never forget.
But it's not. It's sure his house. Does it? What if they're giving you that house for like 1K? You'd say
no.
Imagine you that you were looking for affordable.
I'm the cheapskate, but no. Okay, so another tip I would say is widen your search. Okay. So use your network, because like it could help a lot, because we used agents, yes, agents help, but it was a tip from someone I know. She's actually my neighbor now, but it was a tip from someone I knew to go on Facebook, go on Kijiji, put up different alerts that actually helped us get this particular apartment. So sort of like try to use your network and
So guys, house hunting in Toronto is really difficult. So as part of me now, I was going to resume in a week and I hadn't still found an apartment. So my brother-in-law said, okay, do you know what? We're going to go on a road trip. We're driving down to Toronto. As we're driving, let's look for houses on these different platforms. So we found a couple of houses on Zillow, and then we called up the agent, and then on that day she took us to a couple of different apartments. We loved, we had, all of them were really acceptable, but of course the price of one, I think the one at that young, close to LCBO, was a bit too pricey, but we're interested, at this point, someone should give us a house, because how many houses? We had looked at a couple.
Over 20.
We had looked, and then we had sent in application for 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 maybe, and then they just kept on turning us down. Like, we can afford this house. Please pick they won't give us a second look. The one that gave us a second look wanted 6 months. Yeah, he wanted 6 months up front. So guys, another thing is, when moving from Nigeria or wherever you're moving from, you might be required to pay your rent upfront. So you probably will need to save at least three. Like the basic one would be first and last month. So you pay your first month and you pay your last month, and then after that you then pay your monthly rent. But some landlords, because the apartments in Toronto is so expensive, they don't want to give out their houses to people who will then damage it. So they want to do like a bit of background search about you or the kind of person you are. But then they also want to be really careful with whom they are like handing over their apartment to. And then also the laws in Canada protects the tenants. Landlords, in short, protect the tenants. So landlords can even put you out of the house once you've rented. They have to go to court to get you out of the house, and in that time they are losing money. So they want to be sure that they are giving their apartments to people who can pay. So guys, another tip that I would say would be helpful for you would be to be flexible. So me, I wasn't so flexible. Well, okay, actually, I think I was somewhat flexible.
No, she was not.
I was.
No.
I just wanted certain things like proximity. If we're not, I've heard like a lot of horror stories about people going on buses during the winter, and then when they miss their bus, how frustrating it feels. Okay. So I didn't want to experience that, guys. If you don't have a car and you're not close to like the transportation, like your buses, buses can even be unreliable. Train stations. Now she's enjoying it. She's the one that's like, oh, I live very close to this train station.
True.
You see? So make sure that you can be selective, but sometimes just to get a first house, you just want to get something that you can work with. But then there's something called like tenure. So here we have to pay a year's, like we have a year's agreement. So we would not leave the house until a year is over, for example. But there's some other people, especially if you go to like Facebook Marketplace, people who are looking to sublet their apartments, they would allow you to pay month to month. So you can get a month-to-month arrangement first, and then once you get comfortable, you get a job, get all the requirements for renting the house, then you can then move to a more permanent situation, a more fancy apartment. What about them using agents? What was our experience like around using agents?
Okay, so using agents, yeah, so they actually help you.
Are they helpful?
They are very helpful. So they show you a variety of houses. So and they also help you get organized because we were working with agents. We already had all our documents in folders, so we were ready to go at a moment's notice. Like if we needed to make any offers, we were ready like in a snap. So they actually let you know all the kind of like how to package your application, how to write your that letter that you write, sort of like a profile, a personal statement. I had to write a personal statement.
Guys, that's another tip. You might be required to write a personal statement, so just to let the landlord get to know you a bit better. So it might work, it might not. But some people don't write personal statement, but we had to write personal statement because at that point we're already frustrated. We're like, something gotta give. And then we used two agents. So we used the first one. He was really helpful, but at that time we didn't have a job, so we got loads of no's. And then after that, remember I told you that I came to Toronto, we drove down, and then on the way we called another agent, and then we worked with her. She showed us like nice properties, but unfortunately, we still got a lot of no's. And how did we find our apartment eventually? Kijiji! So we found our apartment on Kijiji. She found the apartment on Kijiji.
So one evening, I was like, I just finished eating like better food, and I'd already done my night routine, cleaned my face, pajamas, and I just saw a nice looking apartment on Kijiji in a building that they are giving us Ella before.
They told us no.
They told us no in the penthouse building. So I saw this building on Kijiji, and it's like, oh, okay, let me just message the guy and just see what's up, fingers crossed. And I messaged the person that put up the listing, and 15 minutes later, he messages me like, okay, can you come and view it now? And I look at the time, like it's 7:30 in the evening, and I'm like, okay, yeah, no problem. Why not? I'm looking for a house. So like, I literally like run into the room, dress up, and my cousin is looking at me like, yo, in the middle of the night, and I'm like, this is Toronto. The house might not be there tomorrow. So I literally like just hopped out of the building, like ran to the bus station, got to the place then. Met the agent.
Yeah, I'm fancy.
Oh God, like I can still like remember the emotions and the feeling. Like literally ran there, like met the agent. Had a mini interview there and then because we had a video call with
she called me
and Grace because he wanted to like talk to her, see
if I'm a crazy person.
Exactly. Because I think he saw one very hyper human being in front of him, so he needed to make sure the next person was
sane.
So we sort of like had a mini interview. Like that was a Sunday, so that was a Sunday.
I can't remember, but I know that.
No, it was a Sunday because I know you were supposed to come to Toronto the next Saturday.
Yeah.
You were moving in on Saturday, so like we had like the whole thing. So he was like, okay, that's no problem. That someone else was actually coming to view that same apartment that evening, and in my mind I'm like,
no way. So guys, this is why it's important to have your money ready to go because it is a very competitive market. Everybody wants the same place. So sometimes once you go to a place, you see it, you like it, make sure you just lock it in. Otherwise, if you say, okay, let me go home and think about it, on your way home they'll call you to let you know that someone else has taken the place. So make sure you are dynamic, fast. Have your money ready.
And that is the part where I would say the agents actually helped us because since we're working with agents, we already had all our documents. There was already a folder, house hunting. All our documents were there. So the minute this guy just told us, okay, send in your documents, within 5 minutes,
we already sent it in. Like, what are the documents they will typically ask for?
Okay, typical documents. So we would have your
credit score,
have a good credit score, or at least
and credit score and credit history. Because sometimes, like part of the challenge we had was we had a high credit score, but because we had not stayed in the country for a very long time, we didn't have like credit history. Yeah. So they were like, yes, you have a good a good score right now, but how do we know that you are a good person? So yeah. Credit score, credit history.
Yeah, then your employment letter.
Employment letter. What if I'm not employed? That's where
you might need a guarantor.
Yeah, guarantor. So, or you can pay if the person allows you. You can then pay upfront.
Yeah.
And typically, the money you're paying upfront would. So, for example, they tell you to pay 6 months. So, what they would typically do is the first month and the last month and the last 5 months. So it means that after the first month you pay another rent. So you must be ready, or maybe you must make sure that they are clear with what they want. So ask them, is this the 6 months I'm paying upfront? Is it for the first month and last 5 months, or the first 5 months and the last month? So make sure you get that information.
Yeah.
Next one.
Pay stubs.
We
needed pay stubs. Then character references from people. Yeah. Then your own personal statement. I hide myself that I'm a very awesome person, but I'm an awesome person. So
you probably need a personal statement. Not everyone does that, but we then to get an added advantage, we decided that we wanted to write the personal statement. Some people might not require it of you, but then you want to write it. And also, if you don't have a personal reference, they'll also ask you for a rental, your past landlord,
the letter from
the past landlord, or the contacts
of your past landlord,
and they will call those people.
They do call. I was shocked.
Remember when the other house that we rented and we put all those details and they called. So make sure that you have, if you have
a reachable number.
A reachable number, very important. And then if you don't have anybody that you've rented with before because you're just coming in, obviously you can then tell them that, you just came in. But if you stayed with someone, say for a short period of time, you can then use that person as a personal reference to say, okay, I lived with this person can vouch for me that I wouldn't trash your place. Or if you stayed in an Airbnb, I think you can also give them the Airbnb's person's number, but you need to take permission from that person. That way they just know that, okay, they kind of get a sense of if you are a good person to live in their apartment.
Then finally, the rental agreement form.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's standard.
It's a standard form. It sort of outlines all the terms and all the conditions. Who is liable for what? Who is not liable for what?
One requirement we forgot to mention that you would need is your
proof of identification.
So you need your proof of identification. So it has to be nationally recognized or maybe internationally recognized, because your international passport, you can use that.
Yeah.
You can use your driver's license,
PR card, or provincial photo card.
Yeah, so those are the things you need to show that, just so that they have all your documents on file, and be sure that you're not like faking your name and your information and all that. And yeah. And then also, you make sure when you're searching for a house, part of like the things to look out for is some apartments do not allow you to have pets. So here, we're not allowed to have pets. So if you're thinking of getting a pet in future, or you already have a pet right now, you want to look into that, because some apartments wouldn't allow you, or some buildings, not really apartments, some buildings wouldn't allow you to have pets.
And some buildings. So when can we talk about how we became siblings?
Continue.
Okay. And so back to our gist at the beginning of the video, when I said this is my adopted sister. Some buildings will not let you, will not let two individuals or two people not related to rent an apartment together, which is a very interesting rule. So for us,
it's single family, they call them single family buildings.
Single family buildings. So here, we had already gone through the hurdle of talking to the agent. He had accepted us. Talked to the landlord. The landlord has accepted us. We were like, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hey. I was already dancing back and back. The next day, I'd already gone to the bank, raised the bank draft, because
I was already moving in, because I remember it was when I requested for like elevator.
The elevator.
Yeah.
I mean, we had already paid the bank draft. We had already collected keys. We were ready to move in, and then the
enemies of our enemies.
The enemies of our enemies tell us that it's not that we are cousins, and that is not single family. And I'm like, you say what? I had already bought beds and consoles from Facebook Marketplace, and I was ready to pick them up, and I'm like, what is going on here? I was ready to cry, but
the Lord that we serve.
The Lord that we serve. And our landlords and our landlord's agents were on our side. And they fought for us and told them that we are
adopted sisters. So, and I'm like, well, it's not a lie technically, because we technically grew up together. We went to the same secondary school, even though we didn't really know ourselves then. And all Africans are related. So that's how we became adopted, or half or related in some ways. So,
siblings.
Siblings. So,
yes.
Yeah, meet my sister Sui.
Yay, meet my sister Grace.
Guys, another thing that you probably would be asked for would be the what's the name of that thing that we paid for?
Security deposits.
Security deposits, but that's what I was trying to think about.
The
renter's insurance.
Renter's
insurance. So before we even picked up the key, they asked us to do a rental insurance of a particular amount. I can't remember how much.
1 million face value.
1 million. So it's when you hear 1 million, you're like, it's expensive, but it's not so expensive. So you can get a renter's insurance for, how much did you get that first one?
I think what we paid was about 340-ish
for a year.
Two of us.
Yeah, for a year. And then the reason why it was that expensive, because we wanted to cover both of us just in case something happens, so we would get something out of it. But if you want just a single coverage, so maybe covering only one person in the agreement, then it will be cheaper. And then also we added water damages, so in case there's any water pipe burst or anything, our personal property is covered. So you can also figure out what's best for you in terms of your arrangement, and then you might be required to then do that insurance. Then we also we needed, when we're moving, we needed to, because we're living in a condo and we would use their elevator, we had to pay a fee. So just when you're taking into consideration the monies that you would spend while renting a house, don't just think that you rent a house and that's done. Because you pay the elevator booking, you need to get a mattress, you need to get your chairs, maybe basic table and chair for work.
Marketplace.
So yeah, she says you should go to Facebook Marketplace. That's where you can find. And then you remember the video, I think I posted a video about our living room makeover. We didn't spend a lot compared to what other people would typically spend. So make sure you watch that video to get the scoop on how we furnished this beautiful living room that we're currently shooting a video in. Where are the places they can find, where they can start their house hunt?
Oh, okay. So we use a couple of websites: Realtor.ca, Condos.ca, Zillow, Facebook Marketplace, Kijiji.
To mention
everybody that knows about houses to please help us.
Yeah. So personal network.
Yeah, personal network.
So you can use your personal network. You can use websites like online marketplaces or websites, and then I think that you can use like a realtor, and then as I mentioned before, unlike Nigeria where they'll ask you for transportation fee to go to view the house, here you don't pay the realtor a dime, so they are doing it for you. The landlord on the other hand would be the person to pay them. See how cool is that? So
awesome.
Feel free to use a realtor or a realtor, but there's another name for them.
Real estate agents.
Okay, real estate.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the three major places that I know of that you can really easily get a place to stay. Oh, then for what of people who come and do not have any place to stay initially, what can their like short-term solution be?
Short-term solution, Airbnb. It could be a bit pricey depending on the area, but then again, that's the easiest to get. And also your personal network. If you know someone that's already here, ask a friend to ask another friend that may have a room somewhere. You could also do that.
And then so subletting too.
Yeah, for subletting. Then also Facebook Marketplace. But then again, if you have someone on ground, please ask them to help you vet whoever you might be renting with on Facebook Marketplace. So
yeah, but if you are doing like the short, like 1 to 1 tenure, that's fine, because if you come after a month, if you feel frustrated with the living situation, you can pack your load and leave.
Yeah, true.
So so guys, that's all. I hope you enjoyed our fun story about, it's not really fun, maybe horror story, about how it's not so easy to get a house here in Canada, but if you kind of put these tips into place, you probably will get a house in no time. Because I know, anyway, another thing is different people have different stories. Ours took us a very long time. I know someone who moved to Canada, and before he moved, he already got an accommodation. I don't know if someone helped him to kind of get the place, but it was easy for him. So yeah, some people have, like, different people have different stories. So, but I think majority of people would agree with me that it's not so easy. It's not as easy as we think. When coming out, that getting accommodation would just be very swift and stressless. But yeah, we are here. We are here for it. So yeah, any last words?
Don't rent houses on Road 666.
Is it Road 666 or that number 666?
On number whatever avenue road, I don't care. Don't take it.
So guys, thank you so much for watching till the end of this video. If you are not yet subscribed to my channel, what should they do?
They should tap that subscribe button. Is it
right there? Maybe here or here, but just it's down below. Somewhere. Make sure you tap that button and subscribe to this channel and
turn on notifications.
Turn on your notification. And then what else should they do? Share. Make sure you share this video
on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, everywhere. I don't know.
TikTok. So make sure you share this video so that every other person knows that this channel shares lit content. Okay guys, until we come to you some other time, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching.
My leg is paining.